Hello again everyone and welcome back to my channel. This video is actually going to be different than most of the videos on my channel. Normally I do reviews, I do tutorials. If you've been following my channel, you know what I do. But in this video, I'm going to talk about people and not technology, specifically how people relate to technology and how they coexist in communities, specifically the Linux community. Now, I want to see people happy. So, of course, this video is going to be about the Linux community, but it's less about that for me and more about the people, because I just feel like if we could all get along better and we could treat each other better, the world would be a better place. Now, when it all comes down to it, I want to see people happy. I want to lift people up, try to make people's days better as much as I possibly can. To be fair, I am human. I make mistakes too, just like anyone else. But this channel isn't about psychology or anything like that. This is a Linux channel, and what I want to talk about is some of the toxicity that I see in the Linux community that drives me crazy and sometimes just makes me shake my head. Ultimately, when we have a technology like Linux that is open source, it's community focused, it lives or dies by the community. And that's important because if the community around Linux dies, then the corporate part of Linux takes over, and it basically becomes what Microsoft used to be a while back. Community is extremely important. We all have amazing ideas and talents, and we put those ideas and talents together. Maybe somebody is great at documentation. There could be an expert developer ready to share code, or maybe someone who doesn't have technical talents like that, but is more than happy to try things out and report problems. And inside the Linux community, what I notice is that people just sometimes act very toxic to one another. And I find that sad because that can make people less likely to ask for help on the forums, less likely to contribute, and even worse, less likely to help drive Linux adoption. Now, I'm going to give you guys some examples of things I've seen, some problems that I see in the Linux community, and offer some advice on what we can do as a community to try to rise above that and help each other out and basically just be more decent to one another. Now, one of the things that I've noticed a lot is toxicity in communities, and I'm specifically referring to forums, IRC chats, and things like that. And it's happened to me. I mean, there's been times where I will ask for help on a Linux forum, and then I'll get a response that's basically read the freaking manual, and the person will just be rude. Now, let the record indicate I've written books about Linux, so the manual that I consult would probably be my own. I'm not trying to brag, but it's just ridiculous to treat people like that when you don't even know their background. You could be saying that to somebody who has a ton of experience when it comes to Linux. You could be saying that to somebody who has no experience when it comes to Linux. We all have different backgrounds, like I mentioned. In my case, I know quite a bit about Linux, but I am not an expert. Now, you might think that I am because, given my background, but I don't believe that an expert really exists, because that to me is somebody who has nothing left to learn, and I'm always learning new things. But just like everybody else, there's going to be some times where maybe I don't put the right search terms into Google when I am researching problems, and honestly, I will often spend 2 to 3 weeks researching something before I even go and post a forum topic in the first place. So I definitely do my due diligence when it comes to trying to help myself. But at the end of the day, if you are volunteering in a forum or a community to help people and to answer questions, my opinion is this: either help people or don't. Either stay in the community and help people with their questions, help guide them, help teach them. And if you can't nicely do that, then I think you should excuse yourself from the forum and not post any responses, because when people are posting responses that are toxic, they're just going to make people afraid to ask for help, and that's going to make the Linux community not a very nice or welcoming community to new users. Now, don't get me wrong, I totally get it, right? I mean, it is a little bit frustrating when somebody posts messages, on a forum, like where are the user accounts stored on a Linux system? Something that, yeah, technically they probably could Google and find the answer themselves. But honestly, do we really know that they didn't look for an answer? If somebody has a bug or a problem with their computer, maybe they did consult Google, but maybe they're just not as good with the search terms as other people. Maybe they're not searching in the right place, or maybe they're clicking on the wrong links. Who knows? But to assume that people have done no research, that's not a good thing to do. Now, to be fair, if you are asking for help in a forum, yeah, I get it. You should really tell people what you have tried to do, what articles you have read, and basically let the people that are trying to help you know what you have already done so that you don't cause them to try to tell you to repeat things you've already done. That is frustrating. I get it. But at the end of the day, we need to maintain the perception of the community as being helpful and welcoming, even when it's frustrating for us to do that, even when we're grinding our teeth because we're answering the same question that we've answered hundreds of times. I know, trust me. I get it. I've done that myself, answering questions over and over again that I've already answered. I mean, how many times have people on my channel asked me, what distribution do you use as your daily driver? I've made several videos about that. I've answered that question. You know what? I don't mind answering it 100 times. Is it really that bad? Should I really tell people, well, why don't you search my channel topics and video titles and you'll get your answer? No, I don't want to be that guy. And I think people generally need to stop with the RTFM type of posts. I think that is perfectly acceptable to ask people, did you search Google? Did you read the documentation? That's a valid question. You're asking the person what research he or she has done to try to solve the problem. That is very valid. Nothing wrong with that. But to frustratingly and angrily say RTFM every time somebody posts a message, eventually you're just going to find that no one wants to post any topics in your message board and you are damaging the community. Please stop it. Now, that first point was about volunteers, obviously, people that help in the forums. And I do want to say thank you, by the way, for doing that. I know it's frustrating and you're doing God's work. Literally, that's awesome. But then let's take a look on the other side where users can actually be toxic to the community directly. And my biggest pet peeve about that is when people unnecessarily disparage software and insult it. People might say, GNOME is garbage, KDE is garbage, Linux is garbage, who knows? What good is that doing exactly? Now, my definition of a technology being garbage is a technology that is unusable. It has no redeeming quality whatsoever, no features that are worth using. A piece of software that is garbage is completely worthless. And let's be realistic for a minute. I know a lot of you guys out there really dislike GNOME, and there's some of you guys that dislike other desktop environments or technologies as well. But is it really garbage? I mean, would it still exist if nobody used it, if nobody found value in it? Let's think about that realistically. When we insult software, we are insulting the people that are volunteering their time to develop it. You don't have to like KDE. You don't have to like GNOME. You don't even have to like Linux. We can all form our own opinions. But when we are toxic toward technologies themselves, we are actually disparaging the people that develop that technology. Think of how many people spend all of their tireless hours volunteering, often for no monetary gain whatsoever, to submit patches to GNOME, to KDE, to the Linux kernel, just to hear people say GNOME is garbage, KDE is garbage, or whatever the technology is that people are disparaging. People get very animated about this, almost like it's politics. My opinion is simple. Use the software that basically has the features that you need a piece of software to have. Use the software that resonates with you specifically. What technology makes you happy to use? What makes you smile? What gets your job done? Then go ahead and use it, right? I mean, if you hate a piece of software because, maybe it doesn't do what you like or it doesn't work on your hardware, maybe you find that it crashes often, is it really productive to just go to forums, message boards, and even on my own YouTube channel and just talk about how software, specific software is garbage, you have done a disservice to the community. Please stop it. You are not helping. You are not helping make it better. You are not telling the developers what they should do or what your ideas are for helping improve that piece of software. You are just basically causing trouble, and it's just not a good thing. Now, I get it. We all have our opinions, and we don't have to like everything. And we could certainly speak against technologies if we feel that the developers made a bad move or something like that. I do feel that we need to have that discussion, but we need to have that discussion and be civil at the same time and be respectful. I think you'll find that you'll get your point across a lot easier if you do that. You're not going to piss anybody off. And I think you're going to make the community better because you are giving back. You are legitimately helping people understand what the weak points of a piece of software might be, instead of just saying, like, it's trash, which doesn't help anybody. Now, I know that a lot of my opinions here are a little firm, but I think that it's very important that we focus on creating a welcoming community that embraces people, doesn't fixate on debating things that at the end of the day don't really help anyone. We just want to be better to each other. I think that's very important. Now, if you're a beginner, let me tell you, I have been where you are. There was a time where I knew virtually nothing. I was the person going on message boards, posting topics, simple questions, when I didn't really know how to find the answers, even though I'm sure I tried, just to be told very rude things by other people. And I didn't let it get me down. I kept pressing forward. And look at me now. I think I'm doing okay. I think I know a fair amount about Linux at this point. I've moved on and I've made it to the other side. But I could tell you that at times it was excruciating dealing with disheartening comments from people and overall toxicity in the Linux community. There's been times where that's been very tough. But what can we do to go ahead and make it better for other people? Well, first of all, we can always be nice. I think the number one rule is never assume anything. Don't assume that somebody hasn't done their research, even though, let's be honest, a lot of times people probably haven't. I get it. But if you do disparage people for that, you're just being rude. But it's certainly fine to ask the question, like I mentioned earlier, did you do research? Did you read the documentation? What have you tried so far? That's always fair to ask. But to assume anything, especially that somebody didn't do research, we need to stop doing that. That is helping absolutely nobody. And if you are animated about a particular technology or piece of software, then instead of going into message boards, Facebook posts, to make disparaging comments that ultimately just make you look like a troll, which is going to make people ignore you in the first place, I think it's better to do a usability study. I mean, just write down some notes about all the things that you don't like, things that could be improved. If you are a developer, maybe offer a patch to fix an issue. If you're not a developer, try to make your opinion known in a constructive way, and you might actually find that the developers are open to hearing about it. Maybe they want your opinion. And even if your opinion isn't taken into account or consideration, you might actually get an explanation from the developer as far as why things are the way they are. Contrary to popular belief, technologies don't like removing features to piss people off. That's not what they woke up in the morning to attempt to do. They want to make software that everybody wants to use. Otherwise, what's the point? So I think we could find better ways to go ahead and communicate our disagreements with design decisions. I think that'd be a great thing to do. Now, above all else, I think even bigger than the other things I've mentioned is to be the change you want to see in others. If you agree with me and you want to see a more welcoming community, then how about joining a community for your favorite distribution, software product, going into a chat room, and just look for people that you can help. There's often people right in the comments of my videos that are having trouble, that with my day job, I unfortunately can't always get to answering, so you could help there as well. If you're an Ubuntu user, you can go on those forums, Pop! OS. There's several chat rooms for that. Your favorite product, whatever that happens to be, just go there and start helping people for no reason, for no gain, just to try to help somebody out and make their lives a little bit easier. And if everybody did that, I think we would be in a great place. And a lot of people do that. There's a lot of volunteers out there, a lot of people that tirelessly help other people. We need more people like that. Less people complaining in a way that does not constructively help. Less people insulting other people. We need more people that are welcoming, hand-holding, will help onboard people, guide people, and just be overall nice people. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Let's try to keep it civil. I don't want there to be any debates, or at least any non-friendly debates. And let's think of some ways that we can make the Linux community less toxic, especially for new users. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope that was helpful. Now get out there, let's go ahead and make the community great, or at least greater than it already is. Change starts with us. Let's make the communities awesome.